Coleman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. I was like,
It's like a water
because I
pipe.
come to this park all the time. Like, it's literally. Oh, that's pretty.
Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Breathe in. Hold it.
Oh.
Exhale. Roll your shoulders. Head to the right. Head to the left.
You mad? You mad? What you mad about? What you mad about? You want to answer the question? Do you need to go in the house? You just wanted to talk. You just wanted to talk. You good now that we had a conversation? You feel better? Okay. My name is Janae, and my life is a beautiful resistance because I do words. I do story. I love my Blackness. I love Black people. I have Peppermint Patty, and she is a beautiful resistance, all on her own. My life is a beautiful resistance because I see the me and you, and the you and me, and the us and we. I've been a culture columnist for over 10 years, and I've been writing about Black Lives Matter since Mike Brown and Trayvon. It was just very emotionally depleting, and I was exhausted, and I came back and I told my editor, I was like, look, I'm gonna continue to cover culture and identity and social justice because it matters, but I need to have a space where I can wrap my arms around Black people and tell them that they are loved and that their lives matter while they're here, instead of us always constantly celebrating life as a hashtag. That's what came to me, and I thought about all the sayings I heard growing up, like, joy comes in the morning, weeping may, endure, but joy comes in the morning, and after the laughter comes then the pain, that song, and joy and pain, and there's beauty in the struggle, just all those kind of mantras that we have, and that's how A Beautiful Resistance was born in my brain. So every week we drop what I call a mixtape. So it's a short documentary film, like an 1,100 word deep dive story on a broader topic, a Q&A featuring someone else, and then a playlist plus the daily Instagram post. And I really want A Beautiful Resistance to be a place that kind of pushes possibilities, pushes dreams. I mean, we are the joy pushers.
My name is Cheney, and my life is a beautiful resistance because I'm able to use my camera and my business to highlight the voices of those less heard, be able to express our vision of everybody has a story, and highlight joy in all the communities I work with.
My name is Damian Mejia. My life is a beautiful resistance because I've learned to adapt to every situation that comes my way.
My name is Kat, and my life is a beautiful resistance because I show up.
So yeah, I wanted to make sure that we had three Black storytellers, three storytellers of color, rooted in New England to help tell these stories in order to remove the white gaze and also to empower them to hold that space and to set a framework so other media organizations all over the country can see that you can work with local storytellers and they don't have to come out of J school. They don't even have to come out of film school. Like, people have amazing talents. People are self-taught every day. And then there's people who did go to school and just haven't had the opportunity yet. And until we start being in community with our community to tell those stories, we're doing it wrong.
My style, a CTD Productions style of filming, I think that we like to lead with love. And so when I'm shooting, I like to, tell stories through love and passion. And so, with sports, you think like the action sports, but I always have an eye in the crowd. I'm looking for the mom cheering. I'm looking for, the two players embracing each other and highlighting each other. Or even with Chef D, when he's singing in the kitchen and cooking at the same time. It might not be something you think about cooking, but that's love and joy that he puts into that. With Ebony, the off moment where she's kind of just doing her thing and being powerful, and on stage she wasn't dancing, she was just doing her thing. And with Golden, being able to get behind the scenes and them being vulnerable and doing the photography, and you could just see the love behind all the work that they're doing.
With Cheney, he literally like exudes Black joy and is like really walking in the mission of A Beautiful Resistance. So I found whenever I get to work with him, it kind of comes across even on camera how there's a sense of ease and things are happening. Just kind of, even when we have to pivot and there's tension, it's just like it gets diffused and the stories just come across really warm and active and playful. And it's a playfulness that we need.
My film style comes from this influence of music videos. I think I was very influenced by them. I think back to Ludacris. A lot of Ludacris's videos in the mid-2000s was just, they were insane, right? But I think like music videos helped teach me like there is a absurd reality to the way that we live and the way that we perceive. Specifically thinking back to Big Lux's episode where, it was very much about, okay, how, like you play a violin, let's do a violin performance, let's cut that in there, which is something that I think traditionally, like you're not gonna see that in a documentary because I feel like they try to focus too much like on the violin, but it's like, it made sense to treat it like a music video and a documentary, trying to like marry two worlds. So I feel like definitely my film style it's a little bit absurd, it's a little bit of embracing the imperfect, definitely. I try to find comfort in the things that don't actually work and then try to let that be like what is the style ultimately.
Damien has this very music video aesthetic and will build a set, will like get on top of a chair and move things and cares so much about where everything is placed, really like painting a picture.
The way in which I approach my filmmaking is faith-based. It's a feeling. So whenever I'm working on a new project, I just look at it as just something that's like meant to be, right? So whether it's supposed to be like a teaching moment, whether it's supposed to be for like a great connection or just for the experience, I think when I have like that mindset, my work is more intentional. With my film style, like I started off doing like music videos, so it's like fast-paced, it's story-driven, it's experimental, and those are all great things, but I think now I'm kind of like drawn to more so like documentary, interview-based style filmmaking, because there's like a level of like realness, authenticity, and like human interaction that you just probably won't get doing all the other types of film styles.
Kat has a quiet power that she brings to set that is just very admirable, and her work is very clean. And there's a synergy there where it's like we decide what the story is and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. And like the Love Letter to a Black Woman episode, working with Kat on that meant a lot because, she's a Black woman, I'm a Black woman, so it's like we got to really pour into ourselves and into like what it is to be a Black woman and open that portal. So it's like, as I look at season 2 and look at working with these 3 young directors and looking at the people we were in community with and how even though all of those people were incredibly different, there was an overlapping theme of what it means to walk in your purpose, what it means to be able to dream, what it means to celebrate selfhood. And I love that how somehow every season we find ourselves seeing a through line that way.
I wanted to work with A Beautiful Resistance because It's very similar to kind of the mission of my business that I run with my partner, Michaela. You know, our mission and our vision is that everybody has a story. And A Beautiful Resistance is doing that. They are highlighting the voices of those less heard, the stories that you don't get to hear all the time. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I also wanted to shout them out, Beautiful Resistance, because not only are they doing that on TV or YouTube and Instagram, but they're actually doing it behind the scenes. For example, myself, they gave me an opportunity and a platform to be able to express my work and get opportunities that I might not have had without them, and for them to be able to give people of color, Damien, Kat, and myself opportunities to be able to show our work and be on a bigger platform is amazing. And it's just great to see that, not a lot of companies are doing it, but they're doing it inside and outside, behind the camera, in front of the camera. Beautiful Resistance is sharing those joys.
Beautiful Resistance was something that last year when it had first premiered, I saw OJ Slaughter's episode and I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Historically, Boston just isn't the place where like you look around and you say like there are black people here, because of just whether it be the news or just the way that things are structured. That's not the first thing you hear about. And I think I want to refer to Big Lux's interview, because during that he talked about like, in Rhode Island, thinking of a black man in Rhode Island, like I don't have an image for that. So I think being able to work on A Beautiful Resistance is something where it's like, it helps me feel like my voice, especially in the city that I grew up in, is actually being heard. And now it's being presented onto like this gigantic platform that people from all over the world, not just Boston, Massachusetts, are going to be able to see. So the opportunity is something that I'm extremely appreciative of. And I think that it just helped give me more confidence in being able to say like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and like there is not much wiggle room or margin for that to change.
Okay, so there's a special story behind becoming a Beautiful Resistance Fellow. So I want to say in March, a client of mine contacted me and wanted to, do a project, and she sent me the first episode of A Beautiful Resistance, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And when we were filming, Mercy Bell was there, OJ Slaughter were there, and like they're amazing individuals. And I just couldn't believe that 3 months later, you guys contacted me, and it just kind of like felt like a full circle moment.
What gives me joy is really being out in my community and being a part of joyous moments of black and brown people. I picked this area for my interview. It's Almont Park in Mattapan, because I'm here almost every other weekend, if not every weekend, and this is where you see black joy at its fullest. You see kids scoring touchdowns and cheering with their friends. You see moms on the sidelines going nuts for their little ones scoring touchdowns. You see brothers and sisters cheering on their siblings, and this space and this is kind of everything that I'm about and everything that I love to experience. And I try to bring this love and joy in everything I do. It doesn't have to be sports, but I just feel it a lot here. So.
I feel like for a really long time, especially growing up, I've always had this like identity struggle. My father is Dominican, my mother is Cape Verdean and mixed with all these other things, but I never really identified with either group because I didn't learn Spanish growing up. I didn't identify with the Cape Verdean community growing up, so I was always like in between these two worlds, like always an outsider essentially. So black joy, truthfully, is something that I think I'm still trying to understand, right? So that idea of black joy in my mind is just being able to claim something and being able to say like it is yours, because I feel like for so long, especially in the black community, like being told that something is not yours when in reality like you have every right. If anything, you deserve it more than anybody else.
Black joy to me is a movement of resistance. I think it's about black people showing up fully as themselves and claiming space regardless of what anyone thinks, says, regardless of if there's any systems or barriers in place. So I think that's what black joy means to me.
I think it's important for black people and people of color to be able to express their stories, in front of and behind the camera, because I didn't really see representation in where I was growing up or in the movies that I saw and a lot of that. And so, for me to be able to be one of those people, to hopefully, be an inspiration to somebody else, be able to share my experience and people who look like me share their experiences. I think it's important because, when you look on Netflix and shows like that, majority of shows it's either a slavery documentary or it's a crime documentary or something negative. When although it's important to highlight what happens, to a lot of our people, it's also not the only narrative that we have. And we do amazing things. We are chefs like Chef D. We are dancers like Ebony. We are photographers like Golden. And we do so many beautiful and happy and positive things. And I think it's really important to be able to show joy and the love that happens in the Black community and the brown community every single day that you might not be able to see on the media, but it's happening, and I think it deserves a platform.
I think that representation is something that is very far and few for some communities. I think that in the past 5-7 years, you've seen a lot of people, especially Black creators, begin to be able to claim their voice, from Issa Rae to Jordan Peele. You have all of these new individuals that are coming onto the scene who behind the scenes have been grinding for what has probably been 10, 15 years. So like that idea of them having to put in all of this hard work is something that I think that not many of us give enough credit to, because now I'm in the position where, it's so much easier for me to be able to say, like, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I represent. There's a lot more representation of Black stories, and I feel like that gives people the ability to embrace more of who they actually are and not have to put on this like mask just to please what is the majority.
So earlier this year, I went to Atlanta to film a project for the comedian Monique, and after we wrapped, she pulled me aside and said, out of the 30 years that I've been in production, I've only seen 2 Black women in front of the camera, like the head of the camera department, and Kat, like, you're the second one. And then she embraced me and she whispered in my ear, like, you have to keep going, keep going, keep going. And from that moment on, like, I knew filmmaking wasn't just something that I wanted to do for myself. It was something that I needed to do for the Black girls coming after me. So I think it's definitely important for us to just keep pushing and navigating these spaces,
It was really awesome to get an opportunity to tell, different stories of people of color, but different ages, different industries, different identities and things like that. So it really expanded my opportunities to be able to see more, especially in the film director, documentary space, and just kind of outreach and just, see more of the world.
There's this idea of like community, and A Beautiful Resistance was and will continue to be a community that I'm gonna turn to as like, you guys are doing it right, and like this is a path that I think more people need to see and walk on.
It was great being an ABR fellow because this is really what filmmaking is about. Coming together as a collective and creating something like for a common goal.
Highlights of the season ultimately is working with Kat Damien and Baby Chain. I, in 20 years, have never had a fully Black team. To be able to see what Chaney brings when he's bringing all of this joy and light and warmth to every episode and kind of like helping me calm down, to see how Kat moves in this quiet power and brings a real serenity to each episode, and how Damien brings the drama of a Hype Williams video in places where you might not think you'd see it.
Is that one more question right there? Oh, okay, good. Woo! That is a wrap. Thank you, thank you.
And that's a wrap on A Beautiful Resistance.
Thank you.
Thanks. The fresh kick. Us being. Give you some poses. Yeah.
Like a little Uzi pose.
Yes, indeed. Brand new whip, got no keys. Slate.
A Beautiful Resistance Season 2. That's a wrap. We did that. We did it!